Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing an analysis of 2020 and why fashion changed so much, what happened in the world, and the effect it had on the industry. I'm doing this kind of as a response to my last video, which was an analysis of 2021 trends and why they're happening, and I mentioned this video and a ton of you guys wanted to see it, so that's what we're doing today. A lot of these ideas are kind of echoed in that video, but I just kind of mentioned them briefly and didn't dive too far into it, because I was kind of focusing on 2021 instead of 2020. So I'm gonna expand on those and bring in some new things that I didn't really discuss in that video. So we're gonna talk about the actual trends and visually what has changed, but mostly about kind of social and political changes that we went through that kind of forced these fashion changes. Okay, before we get into it, we do have a sponsor, and I'm so excited about this sponsor because it's Audible, and I literally use Audible almost every single day. Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment. They have it all in one place, so you have audiobooks, podcasts, and you can pretty much get any audiobook, fiction, nonfiction, memoirs, business books, self-help, motivation, anything like that. If you don't have the time to read or if you want to get into reading, try this out. How it works is you become a member and then you get a credit every month and you can spend that on any book you want, and then you have that book in your Audible library forever. And then you have access to something called a Popular Plus category where you have thousands of audiobooks, guided meditation, sleep meditations, things like that. You even have shows that don't cost credit and you can download. There's ad-free versions of your favorite shows and exclusive series, and those don't even cost credit, so you can just download them and have them whenever. So once you have an Audible membership, you can download whatever you've chosen and listen to it whenever. You don't need Wi-Fi. The app, which I have on my phone, lets you listen to it on your phone, of course, but you can also listen to it across different devices. So sometimes I'll listen to it on my computer and listen to it on my phone, and you don't lose your spot. Also, you don't have to use your credits right away. You have them for a year. So if I don't use it one month, I'll just roll it over to the next and use it the next month. And if you're not loving what you've chose out, you can simply just swap it for something else. They also have a bunch of free titles on there. Like, pretty often I'll look up things I want and realize that it doesn't even cost a credit. So I'm gonna recommend some of my favorite books that I've listened to in the past year or that I've read that you guys might enjoy listening to. I'm also gonna try and look for some books related to this topic, so if you guys wanna dive further into this, you can do that as well. But I'll leave those below along with a link to where you guys can go for a free 30-day trial, try it out, listen to a book. If you hate it, you don't have to pay for it and you just got a free book. So you can click the link or go to audible.com/madisonxwild, which is my username on everything, or you can text madisonxwild to 500-500, and all of those things will take you to a free 30-day trial. Right, now that we've done the sponsorship, thank you so much, Audible. It's such an exciting sponsorship for me. Let's get into the video. Of course, the biggest thing is COVID, the pandemic, right? But I don't necessarily think everything is directly related to the virus. Everything stemmed from the virus. For example, like mask wearing, that's obviously directly related to the pandemic. That's why we're wearing them, and that changed fashion in a way. But then there's other things like the Black Lives Matter movement, which I do believe COVID kind of had an impact on, that aren't directly related to the virus, but definitely stemmed from that. So I want to go into those things. Let's just start with a brief overview of kind of what fashion looked like in 2019, what it looked like in 2020, and kind of where it's going now. This might sound a little counterintuitive, but I want to focus on actually what was in mass markets in each of these years and not necessarily high fashion. Of course, they're kind of always intertwined because everyone's on the same zeitgeist and everything like that, but I think especially this year I have seen, you know, high fashion designers just be so disconnected with the younger generation, and I've kind of just seen this younger generation, I'm talking about kind of Gen Z and below, or and a little bit above, really kind of take it on themselves. 2019 fashion was boring. It was really a fucking snooze fest. I don't think I realized that at the time. I mean, even my style was so boring. Shit was dry. The best way to describe it is shit got funky. This explosion of prints and patterns and bright colors and embroidery and crochet and all these beautiful things, beautiful colors. No more clean lines, much more free-flowing fabrics. Instead of kind of stark leather materials, we moved towards more silks and satins, which we were already seeing a lot in 2020 with the skirts, but it kind of got even flowier and bigger and more free-spirited in a way. And of course, we can't forget this revival of 60s and 70s clothing. I think that was one of the most notable changes this year that everyone can see, even if it's not directly copying those things or buying direct 60s vintage, which I'm doing a lot of. You're copying those patterns or you're adapting them to making them kind of modern patterns, or the silhouettes have been adapted. Shit got funky, and I think in part there's a couple reasons. So I think in terms of COVID, I think death and despair and this really dark period for a lot of people kind of forced it, because it was like, okay, there's all of this crazy, terrible shit going on. Let's at least bring some light and love into the world. In addition to that, also related to COVID, I think it's kind of a roaring 20s-esque thing. So people coming out of this want to make an impression. You know, they've been in isolation for so long, they haven't seen people, they haven't been out. People want to celebrate. We're getting to an end of this. So many people are getting vaccinated. I think people really are wanting to make an impression now with what they wear, because it's been so long that we've been able to do that. And I think people really realize the value in it now, whereas before it didn't seem as important because we could communicate so much and we could talk and all of that, but now it's just that was so taken away from us, you know. And of course trends change every year, but 2020 was an insane year for fashion, which is so crazy because we were literally all at home and there was nowhere to go. People couldn't even go to fashion shows, but that's what makes it even more interesting. So let's talk about the comfort of isolation and how that changed fashion. So it's funny, I even see things on TikTok now of people like romanticizing March and how relaxing it was, and there was this sense of ease and things slowed down and you could just be so comfortable with yourself in your home. That's how I felt too. I look back on March fondly. It was extremely stressful and super messed up, but I got to spend so many months with my family. Like, I didn't give a shit about school, I didn't care about work, anything. I was just like, the world is blowing up, like I can just chill in a way. Like, as terrible as that sounds, that's how I felt. And I know it's a really privileged thing to say because I really did just get lucky. No one in my family lost their job or lost their lives or had a hard time with COVID, so in that sense, it was enjoyable, to be honest. So now we have this opportunity where, one, we're not being influenced by people every day. We're still being influenced online, which is very different. Because you can just kind of take that, see it, and go. Whereas if you have to be going out every day, you're not going to be experimenting with different styles and different versions of yourself because you're just not sure how people are going to react to it, and you just don't have time because things were going so quickly. I want to kind of talk about TikTok a lot too, because as silly as it sounds, and I know it's a younger generation thing, one, I believe that the younger generations trickle fashion up. Our society values adolescence so much, and as fucked up as it is, and how much I hate it, and I think we should value our elderly more, we don't, and we romanticize these young years. So naturally, the fashion is going to come from these younger generations and trickle upwards. TikTok is the biggest influence for, you know, Gen Z, which is what I kind of want to talk about the most. So it's kind of inescapable to talk about. So the thing about TikTok is people weren't experimenting in person, but people were able to experiment on TikTok and kind of show off these different styles to people on the internet. And the difference about people on the internet is those motherfuckers will hype you up. In person, you go out to a party and you're not really confident about your outfit, you're kind of worried about it, and chances are, even if people like it, not everyone's gonna say something about it. Whereas you could post something on TikTok and all these bitches are gonna hype you up. Like, girls are so nice on TikTok. Even me, I'm like, I'm commenting on random people's shit all the time, like, oh my god, you are so hot. Whereas in person, I'd be like kind of scared to say that. I think a lot of people got this inflated confidence because of that. The difference with TikTok is it's kind of taking the power back from like influencers, and it gave it to normal people. So anyone could post a video and blow up. Like, any normal person could post a really cute outfit and blow up. So you're getting all of this validation from trying these new styles. And I think this is so related to 2020 because I don't think people would have been posting the content they were without the pandemic. I think a lot of people that started posting on TikTok were posting out of boredom completely. They were like, what the hell else am I supposed to do? And they weren't as scared because they didn't have to go to school the next day, or they didn't have to go see their friends at a party the next day and be embarrassed. And I think that's a huge reason a lot of people don't start posting online when they want to. So we've just exploded with content this year too. Don't necessarily think it's the fact that trends changed so much, it's more how we interact with the trends and how they changed. You weren't seeing them in your everyday life. You were seeing them online. Normally, you see your friends. You go out to a party and like, what are your friends wearing? Or what some people are wearing on social media. And chances are you might experiment with some stuff you see, but you're really gonna be influenced by your surroundings the most. So we didn't have those surroundings. So now we have TikTok where you have this whole world of people. You're seeing every single scroll. Like, for me at least, I see all these people wearing crazy outfits, and you think that's what the world is like outside. I've seen TikTok videos of people in these crazy outfits, and the TikTok will be like, oh, when you go to the grocery store, forgetting that not everyone is dressed like they're dressed on TikTok, because it really felt like this different world. And I think that is what pushed people to change their style, and it's just so cool. Like, sometimes I hate social media so much, but seeing the way that it changed people's style and gave them confidence this year, especially for me too, I just have been like loving it recently. And as gross and toxic as it absolutely can be, and you know how it can cause screen addictions, it's really cool. It's pretty cool. Another point I wanted to make about the comfort that I think is gonna last a long time is that when we do actually go out into the world, we have masks on. You feel so much more comfortable wearing whatever, doing whatever, because nobody knows who you are. You have this sense of anonymity. And you don't really have to be responsible for what you're wearing, because you could see someone in public, you know, and not say hi to them because you could be like, oh, I didn't even recognize you, or you might think that they might not know who you are, comfortable inside their own homes. And then when they did go out, they had half their face covered, so they also still felt more confident trying new things in public. So I think that kind of all went together. A point that I haven't even gotten into yet, because I did mention this in the last video, so I kind of wanted to save it because it's already been talked about, but the insane 60s and 70s revival and why that is happening. I think this is so interesting, and this is one of my favorite things to talk about, because history repeats itself. We know that. Fashion's a direct reflection of what's going on in the world, and when you have eras that are similar, your styles are going to be similar. Activism, for example, the Black Lives Matter movement mirrors the civil rights movement. I know they're very different, but they have the same sentiment. You know, Me Too movement, women's movement, these are all have very similar themes, and this younger generation is really pushing for change. A distrust for the government, kind of a hatred for society, the way it is, and wanting change. So this is so similar to that kind of free-spirited culture of the 60s and 70s. We have this insane second wave of a psychedelic research revival. One of the most notable ones for me is Johns Hopkins. They're doing a ton of research, and it's all super public, and it's getting into mainstream media and on news. This is huge for this kind of spiritual community, which I also want to go into. So this kind of spiritual movement or revival, I want to talk about this too, and why I think this was fueled. We see so much vintage 60s and 70s being worn. We see the prints coming back, patterns coming back. We see the silhouettes coming back. We are so heavily romanticizing these eras. And it's because everything that was being pushed for then is being pushed for now, which is kind of sad in a way. But also a lot has changed since then for the better. But let's talk about this spiritual revival that's happening, and I think it was fueled a lot by TikTok as well. You know, people who had never really been introduced to this world before found this on TikTok, and it seemed comforting, right? It seemed like it brought peace. You see these videos of people burning incense and meditating and wellness, and that sounds like an amazing idea, especially this year. People need a sense of solace, of comfort, of a hobby, something to do with their time that makes them feel good about themselves and about the world. That's spirituality for a lot of people, especially with the decline in religion. I think now we have the smallest percentage of people who really identify with traditional religions like Christianity, Judaism, things like that. And more often than not, it's just kind of like, oh, I believe in something, but I don't really know what, right? And I think another reason for this kind of hippie mentality, which forced this kind of hippie free-spirited clothing that we're seeing more, is kind of just this year made us realize how fucking stupid everything is and how silly the world is in a way, and like the fragility of life, you know? Things can be taken away from you so quickly. That stupid restaurant that you like to go to can be taken away from you so quickly. Your family members, your loved one, your friends, basic communication with people can be taken away so quickly. All of these things that we take for granted, and it kind of made everyone step back and take life less seriously and realize that like you stressing about your fucking math test is not gonna make a difference. A prime example of is this whole TikTok like, not gonna do my essay because we live on a floating rock mentality. That's the exact mentality I'm talking about. The last thing I want to discuss is the way we shop. So brick and mortar retail was already going in the shitter. Stores were closing, malls were dead. It was already so bad before this, and we knew it was gonna be doomed, and then this year kind of killed it. All shopping went online. What I noticed the most with myself too is when I'm out, I impulse buy. I buy things I'm not really that excited about just to buy them because it's a new thing, gives you a little rush of serotonin, dopamine, whatever. Gives you a little dopamine rush and you're on your freaking way, right? Gives you a little dopamine rush and you're on your way, right? Online, there's such a bigger selection, so I think this kind of opened people up to exploring more. We had more time to explore the internet and everything that's out there, and not just go quickly into Zara, buy something really fast for that night, but actually really be intentional with our shopping and thinking about it. So I think people started to explore more styles, started to get more into vintage shopping because thrifting can be really overwhelming, but vintage shopping online is a little bit easier. And the sustainability movement grew this year, of course, because people realized how much they really didn't need. People had time to clean out their closets, to realize how much they don't wear, especially when they're just by themselves. I think that's all I have to say. I would love to hear your thoughts about this because I'm sure there are so many other things I didn't cover and so many other things that went into it, but honestly these are just a couple things that I've been thinking about and while I was making my last video I thought about, so I thought it'd be interesting to talk about it. I was really excited that you guys liked that last video because I was like actually super proud of it, and I never feel proud of my videos, and honestly that's why I don't post super often, is because I just have a really hard time feeling like it's something I'm proud to put out into the internet. But I felt that way about that one, so I was super happy that you guys liked it. and I definitely want to start kind of moving my channel into that direction. Everything with my living situation and life right now is just super up in the air, and things are really confusing, but I will go more into that in a vlog when I start vlogging again. I love you guys. I love doing this. Sorry I don't post a lot, but I want to post more. Also, this tattoo is not real. I am getting this tattooed, so I keep drawing it on myself every day. I'm just waiting. It's my mom's handwriting, so I'm just waiting to be with my mommy until I can get the tattooed. Thanks for watching.